This is the Alden Report.
Today's episode is brought to you in part by ConneXtionCapital.com. That's ConneXtion Capital.com. That's ConneXtion Capital.com. You are one connection away from your life changing forever. Have you ever tried to connect with somebody on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or even Clubhouse, and you couldn't quite connect with them? That's because the biggest gap in the world is the gap of access. It's not the wealth gap. It's not the credit gap. It's the access gap. ConneXtionCapital.com is leveling the playing field, and it's free to join. Visit ConneXtionCapital.com, ConneXtion Capital.com. Again, it's ConneXtion Capital.com. You are one connection away from your life changing forever.
This is the Alden Report.
Right. Well, my name is Mike Alden. We are here in Blue Vase Studios. I always say how excited I am for my next guest. And I am super excited for my guest. I love bringing people on the Alden Report that are doing interesting things, have done interesting things, are pioneers within their industry, and also just real people. My next guest is a direct response television entrepreneur. She is a legend within the world of direct response and responsible for close to $5 billion in sales for products. Some of these products you've probably seen on television over and over and over again. Most of them are probably in your house. We'll talk a little bit about what those are. She's also, not only is she an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, she's also a philanthropist and also an activist within the community in helping all different types of animals, but she's also an equestrian. We're going to talk a little bit about one of her causes that she's literally working on right now. Like when I say right now, I'm talking like right now, this very second. So we got a lot of stuff to cover. I'm super excited that she joined us. Please help me welcome Lindsey Brooks. Lindsey, thanks so much for being my guest.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. It's awesome.
So, you and I connected on this app Clubhouse, and I definitely know who you are, and I've known who you are through being in the direct response space for years. Again, you're a bit of a pioneer. You're an inventor. Tell us a little bit about that, and we'll get into kind of what you're doing right now. But you got into this world at a very young age. Tell us a little, like, how did you get involved in first, like, kind of like pitching products? Like that was one of your first things that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I started off doing product pitching, like selling products live. Honestly, I invented a product, and I was just testing it actually at a market. That was the idea, was to go to a local market and actually test the concept. And I didn't know I was going to be a pitch person or even a street hustler or anything. I actually went to do it because I just wanted to make friends. It was funny because I had like a regular job. I was in the wine business. Actually, I was really interested in selling wine and wasn't old enough, but I was working in restaurants in Vegas long before I moved to Seattle. And the whole reason I chose Washington, because you could be 18 to serve alcohol there and I could get into the business. But I really fell in love with the culture of wine, actually. And I have a pneumatic memory and I have synesthesia. So I have a highly associative brain. So I could remember a lot of trivia very quickly. So I love the wine business because it's all the talking about the past and the history of all the grapes. And I was really passionate about it. But and there's so much more to wine than just serving wine, right? There's just the history, of the grapes and all that stuff. So I got really into it, and I was doing actually wine wish lists. It's helping people get rid of large wine cellars from the capacity of creating these big reports and helping a big company send them out. And this was back in the day when there was no Google, so I was hiking around with Sotheby's wine guide and crawling around floors and cellars, and I was appraising things because I was a sommelier. And anyway, just a long story short. It was this awesome opportunity for me to really lean in, close to maybe a more creative talent of mine, because I was pretty unhappy doing that. And I had just moved to Washington. So I wanted to actually make friends. And so I went down to that market and I found there was all these women and girls that were like me, that kind of, I felt like I wanted to aspire to be like them because they were cool. They were like, had tattoos and they smoked cigarettes and, they were artists, and it was like kind of counterculture. And that was totally different from Vegas, because I'm from Vegas, and, nobody in Vegas really stands out. Everybody's kind of the same, like, the same vibe. They're waxing their car. They're going, to work, swing shift. It's just not like it's a more, nothing against people from Vegas, but it's just more of an external vibe as opposed to this more broody, sort of like punky kind of, I don't know, counterculture. That's all I could say. So
sure.
I brought my little product down there, which at the time was like this archaic little, like, half of a massager. Actually, really, it was like a little rake. And I had 20 of them that I had handmade, and they sold in an hour, Mike. It was crazy. And I knew I had a hit, and I went on to license that product. And it made me very wealthy, actually, at only 19 years old, which was really cool. And then I was able to do that over and over again with other products. So some were invented, some were procured, some were already out in the market, some I collaborated, but I just had a really good eye for being able to identify an opportunity. I think that's what I got good at, because I'm a street hustler, right? So I started selling live. I honed my skill, selling to people, live to consumer. And then I realized there was really a science to it, right? And so on one of my future licensing deals, I took the money I made and I invested in a research company, and I started tracking why people say yes. And I've been doing that for over 10 years. I have an algorithm and a team, and we've been looking into that for a very long time. I've built a lot of predictory models. I got into software development, even taught myself to code. That's now.
Wow.
Recently. So yeah, but this is coming from a dyslexic street hustler. So there you go.
Can't even say it.
I know.
So,
people are always surprised. Like, I'm here, like right now, for example, I'm writing all these letters to like senators, and every senator wants you to write like, "Dear Governor da-da-da, dear Honorable so-and-so." I can't even do that. And like, so it's funny, my fancy friends are like writing these letters and they're like, "Can't you just change the top?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "If you want me to do that, I can open the computer, turn on, I have a tool that helps me." And it's like kind of embarrassing, but I have some help, but it's funny because I really have a really hard time with, getting that to work. Just my grammar is not so good. So, yeah.
You hear, I've heard that a lot from very successful entrepreneurs, like, Damon John.
That I'm bad at grammar.
Well, no, dyslexia. Damon John's dyslexic.
Yeah. Right.
And I've heard others as well. And it's not weird to me, because you either figure it out or you don't. And if you figure it out, it's almost like you develop a new superpower, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that part of the dyslexia, it's funny, that's probably why I was attracted to chimps, right? Because it's weird. They also see the world differently too, right? And I think that part of dyslexia is we just see things backward, maybe, or frontward, depending on who's looking at it, right? So it's kind of like when you look at that, you look at the world around you and you look at it a certain way, and then you have that rearview mirror, right? That says like objects may be closer than they appear. And then you look at the mirror in front of you and everything's backward. It just means that we sometimes start where we end and we end where we start, I think, in the whole journey of life, right? So maybe I'm just a little bit more on the other side of looking at it.
Man,
that's all
I could spend like, I don't know, an hour just thinking about what you just said. So I want to talk about, specifically about what you're doing right now. I think I lost you. You still there?
Oh no, I'm here.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, all right, cool.
I saw somebody texted me. Sorry.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about like what you're what's going on in your life right now, and some of the things that you're doing, and hopefully this podcast can help. But I'm super interested in, we have a lot of business professionals and entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs, which is something that you do, and wantrepreneurs. But so at 19. You have this product, you take it to the fair, and you just learn how to sell. Did someone teach you how to do it? Because when you think about guys like Billy Mays and Ron Popeil and and Anthony Sullivan, you hear that these guys are selling stuff in the streets in Jersey or what have you. Like, did someone teach you these skill sets, did you watch somebody else do it? How did that happen?
Yeah, so actually, so some of my early mentors were actually Billy Mays. He was a really good friend of mine. He did pass away the 28th of this month. God rest his soul. This was a hard week for me because he was a really good friend of mine and also was very instrumental in me getting into the as seen on TV side of the business. I actually accidentally ended up working a booth at the Wisconsin State Fair many years ago, selling a product of mine, and I was pitching live. And I actually at the time did not know that was pitching. I didn't know that what I was doing was pitching. I just got a microphone because there was other people that were really loud. So I went to like Guitar Center or whatever it was. It wasn't Guitar Center, whatever it was at the time. It was like a guitar store.
Right.
It had amplifiers, and I just bought a microphone because everybody else was so loud. And I started pitching the product I was selling at the time. And who walks by but Chris Morris, the owner of the oldest pitch company in the world, and Max Apple, who had hired Billy Mays to sell OxyClean. Right. They were walking the show, and that's how I started actually being a pitchman. But I didn't know I was a pitchman until they told me, "Wow, you're a really good pitchman." And I'm like, "What's a pitchman?" And then obviously Chris took me under his wing, and I mentored with him. And then I also went ahead and took over the business, which I have today, which is Boardwalk Brand, which was the it's like basically the grandchild, I guess you could say, of International Housewares, which was the very first pitch company in the world. So I inherited a lot of old information, history. I have about 5,000 products. I mean, that are old, like the very first Vitamix, something I own, it's like 30, like from the 30s.
Wow.
Just like really cool, neat old heritage. I have handwritten letters from some of the great inventors writing to Chris to see if they would take the product, or Chris's father, Ruby, as well as a lot of really neat, just like information from the past of products. So it's in my blood, in the sense that, not that I was related to them, but more so that I was so like mentored and familialized, whatever, by Chris and influenced mostly. It just came to me naturally. So, but I think I personally made it my own, in the sense that while there was lots of items that were sort of old gold, people love to harp on ShamWow and Slap Chop and all these things I was involved in. But really, I as a female founder, and just as someone who I am today, some of this stuff was almost like 15, 20 years ago. I really feel like I made it my own. And that's my message to every girl and every guy and everybody who's trying to do this, that we know a lot of things, you and I, we've been in this business, but things are changing, and the world around us is changing, TikTok, Facebook, all these amazing tools that are being created because the old ways may not have conveyed context as well, like the context. And what I mean by context is like how we see things, how we perceive things, but then also how our customers see and perceive them, right? And I think that what's happening right now is a dialectic opinion being demonstrated right before us of what we're missing. And that's what you see when you watch TikTok, and when you watch Facebook, and you watch YouTube, and you watch even Clubhouse, you listen to Clubhouse, and you listen to Green Room and many of these other new audio podcast spots. People like you, I feel, that are doing podcasts, or I even look at the talk radio guys, like they really have it down, even like my partner, John Creemans, he's one of the oldest, well, I can't say oldest, he gets mad when I said, but one of the most memorable live shopping hosts of all time. He was one of the first ones, right? 40 years, he'd be a great guy for you to interview. He's wonderful. But I look at his general manner, because of being on TV every day for so long. And I go, man, you are just perfectly cut out for Clubhouse. You are perfectly cut out for Green Room. Like, you're a talker, you're a conversator. This is an art, right? But that's really what the consumer is looking for, right? Is that art of conversation, the ability to hear and to be heard. And I think people like you are wonderful for that, because you're giving everyone a voice, right? And that's amazing.
That's you said something, how things are changing, so to speak, right? But is the art of the pitch changing, really? Is sales psychology changing, or is it just the medium in which people are now communicating with? I have an opinion, but I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
I'd love to hear your opinion too, because I'm sure it's a little bit different than mine, and I'll learn from it. But I think that we're lucky to be one of the most validating bits of humanity in the world, right? We have access to validate everything. Like, we can go on Google, we can ask a friend, we can text our mom, we can watch TV. We have all of the faculties possible to make a good decision, right? We still have books, we have books on tape, all these ways that someone has framed a reference, right? So everything that we're thinking about right now is a frame of reference. It's a point of reference. It's something that we're deciding, all right, how do I reframe my next step? How do I reframe my next decision based on empirical data, knowledge, and my gut instinct, right? So that's kind of like what I'm saying. But I think when you look at the opportunity to literally, like, for example, let's say I'm going to sign a deal. I can literally start a Clubhouse room, and I have a deal room, and I can pull Julie Lyle from Walmart in. I can pull Arlene Dickinson from Dragon's Den. I can call Damon John. I can get them all in a deal room right now, snap my fingers, and I can ask the question, hey guys, should I do this? Hey guys, what do you think? Are you doing anything? It's incredible, right? The opportunity to be able to dialectically decide things with the merit of my peers, as well as their intellect and their information. Then I can go and pop over and make another Green Room, and I can ask customers, hey guys, what do you think? Would you buy this? I can even do a live sale on Green Room, right? I can go in there and pitch as a live shopping host, drive you to a site, just like they did in the old radio days. And I can see if my product even will sell. I could also do a live survey. I can do a focus group. That's the ultimate opportunity to not only share my message, but also get the conversation response back from the customer, and also the experts, and also the empirical data, and also retrain my own point of reference and validate my own personal opinion. So I'm hoping my decisions are better.
Yeah. So the speed in which I guess you could bring things to market, I think they think that's it. It's a lot faster. You can get that feedback a lot faster than you could, I guess, if you were at the local fair, because you only had the people there, right? And so,
but it's good to do that. It's good. I still go to the local events. I still go there. I still, even to this day, I have people that will go. but I still go and I still test an item. I still do a 2-day show, and I do that with my team, and we film it and we get surveys, just one, so that we have some feedback. Cause I need to look those people in the eye. I need to watch some things about them. It's just like when we talk face to face, it's just like if I had my face on with no face, if I just did a picture, there would be something lost in the conversation because you wouldn't see my face. You wouldn't get to maybe see like how my nose scrunches when I say certain things. You also wouldn't get to see my intent, like when I deliver a message, right? Which I think is also very helpful to determine like the level of trust you have for me, maybe like the level of potency, maybe like where you're going to go next with the conversation. There's just things like you'll miss because you can't see my face. And
Right.
I find that's something that's powerful about visual podcasting like this, as opposed to even just audio podcasting. But I will say, I think audio podcast conversation is very good because it forces you to listen. You've heard this, I'm sure, to that one conversation and really consider it. And then you got to hold your thought, which is hard. You can't interrupt, write it down, really make sure it's a good one. I think it's training people to actually be more thoughtful with their words, right?
Yeah, I agree. I'm like, man, should I take my glasses off? Is it offending anybody?
No,
I
could visualize that.
I'm not selling anything right now. So, I'll keep the glasses on. All right, we're on with Lindsey Brooks. You heard me talk in the introduction a little bit about her. She is a legend within the world of direct sales. Her background is super diverse. She's been responsible for pretty much any product that you probably have ever seen on television. She has somehow been a part of it. She's doing some great things. She's done some great things. And she's also right now, one of our biggest causes right now. She's an animal rights activist. And specifically, she's working with chimpanzees in the LA area, and she's doing some great things there. She's literally in a fight right now as we're speaking. And, a lot of times these podcasts come out later, but we're going to make sure this thing comes out really like pretty much right away. So Lindsey, by the way, if you'd like some more information about Lindsey and what she's doing, you could just actually go to her Instagram. On her Instagram page, she has a link or in her link tree. You can kind of see all the things she's doing. You can see the causes she's involved in. Her Instagram is Lindsey Bean 77, LANDSEY Bean 77, right there on Instagram. She's pretty active there. Go to her link tree, see what she's up to. So Lindsey, right now, I've been trying to get you on the podcast. You're super busy, but you're busy with something that's really important to you. And I know that you're an animal rights activist. I know that you love horses as well. But specific, like what's going on right now? Like, what's this battle that you're dealing with? I'd love to hear about it. And how can we help?
Yeah, I'm just trying to control my emotion. I just got really sad for a second. Sorry. It's really hard, Mike. It's because I didn't come into this as like an activist, right? I became an activist because of this.
Right.
And I've always cared about animals. I've had, and I don't say like, because there's like these connotations of activists as a word, like activists are sometimes throwing bricks through windows or they're holding signs or they're.
I didn't say anarchist. I just said activist.
I mean, I probably would be more of an anarchist though, because I'm kind of crazy, but I mean that in like a loving way. But, so I've been rescuing horses for many years, and I promise you in the last 6 months, I've learned more about animal communication, animal-human bond than I've ever learned. And honestly, more about this messed up society with regard to animals than I care to know. And it's sad. It's very sad. And especially the fact that in Hollywood, of all places, like Hollywood is like this place of like, we've all heard the Miley Cyrus song, like I'm getting out of the Uber and it's like, this is where I'm going to go and do something. You look at the skyline, even though it's smog, you could do something there. Like these are the people, these celebrities, these artists, these people, these musicians, they're the ones that like are the change makers, right? They're the ones that stand up when we can't. They're the ones that sing our hearts, that use brushstrokes to convey things. They're the ones that help us build context. They're the ones that create our voice. And to think that these 32 chimpanzees have sat there in rack and ruin with the state running it with no one saying anything. And here I am, I'm just like a product developer who was going to buy a property. I was just buying a zoo to live at. I thought it was like a cool property. And my spouse and I were like, wow, that'd be great. We could bring the horses down, sunny out, they're living in the Washington and it rains a lot. And I just don't like the climate there as much as I do here. And it was more of a personal decision to actually try to look at the property because it was a great price when we looked at it. And then we found all this legacy, Mike, the legacy, right? This woman, Martine Colette, she's like this older lady who, good, bad, or indifferent, she did save over 70,000 animals, right? She had this big property and devoted her life to it. And then
so what's going on like right now? So I mean, if you go to your Instagram again, Lindsey Bean 77, people can learn a little bit about it. I kind of know about what's going on really on the kind of on a higher level. Like, what's happened and what is happening right now?
Sure. So I got involved. I decided I was going to get the property with some partners. We all decided to come in. And then as we started scratching into like the due diligence process, we uncovered these really glaring problems, which we uncovered this week. So that's kind of what the big crazy thing is right now. We found out that they're moving 6 of these chimps, and like, you know, it's Fish and Wildlife. And I don't know if you know anything about Fish and Wildlife, nothing against them, but they're used to tadpoles, horses, dogs, you know, invasive species, plants, not endangered species. You have to remember, endangered species are not animals you can just like throw in a horse trailer and like move somewhere, right? There's a federal system. There's an NIH backed like protocol. There's zoology protocols. There's like 85 things you have to do to be able to touch a chimpanzee, let alone move it. Okay.
Right.
And the crazy thing is these are class 3 at-risk chimpanzees. So just remember that, class 3 at-risk chimpanzee. What that means is they're older, they're elderly, they have medical issues, and they also may have zoonotic disease. And that's because they were tested on. The reason what's
zoonotic disease?
Zoonotic disease is a disease that an animal has that could be transferable maybe to other people or animals.
Okay.
Right. So we know about this. We just went through COVID-19, right?
Right.
We know a lot about this now. So these animals are 99% human on top of that. So it's very complex. They use American Sign Language to tell their story.
Right.
Like you and I. So it's almost like you're dealing with a person animal. I don't want to use the word mutant. It's not a mutant, but it's a creature of great intelligence that does not have a voice like you and I have, but has a language. And on top of that, it has a 2015 federal ruling that says that it's too human to test on.
Right.
But yet it's living in a cage in the middle of Hollywood with being handed, you know, stuffed animals and bananas. And it has serious psychological problems because of what's been done to them. It has needs for podiatry, dental work, animal and human pathology, animal and human cardiology. And these people, this California State Fish and Wildlife has done nothing but barely provided a vet. Barely. And the vet is like a dog vet. It's not even a primate vet. And when they bring a primatologist in, they don't bring in a primatologist. They bring in someone who, I'm sorry, has serious conflicts of interest because he still does behavioral research studies, which are illegal according to the 2007 Save the Chimps ruling, which is you are not allowed to research in any way, shape, or form on chimpanzees that are been researched on. And he's doing it under the guise of moving them to sanctuaries. They're not being moved to sanctuaries. They're being moved to sanctuaries that have been judged to look like sanctuaries, and they're actually research facilities. On top of that, the last 3 chimps that moved, we just discovered yesterday that those chimps are sitting in basically an effective quarantine. They're not moved into a big, beautiful center like they told their donors. The big, beautiful center isn't even moved yet, and now they're trying to put 6 more there today, right now as we speak. They're trying to take 6 out and separate them. And here's the best part. It's not like taking puppies away from a mother. These people, chimps, they nurse their young for 5 years. Okay, they live in colonies that they are together forever. Just like you and I, like if we had a home and we had our kids, it's kind of like a mega structure, right? Our kids live in their own rooms. They might move to the basement. They might move out back to a tiny house. They might move down the street. They may go to college, but they're going to come back, right?
Right.
There's this sense of community and family. Chimps can't FaceTime you or send you a page or send you a letter. You know, when they're gone, they're gone. So these elder chimps, just like our parents, that end up in a nursing home that have no access to their children and they end up isolated. We know how that goes, right? They lose the right to their own humanity. They're not allowed to browse the menu even. They get handed the same food every day. Those things affect the brain. All of the reasons why our parents have the issues that they have now, like dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, they're diseases of the dopamine system. And that comes from a lack of ability to anticipate the future. It also comes from a lack of decision of choice, right? So that's where serotonin comes in. So when you affect those systems, what do you have? A depressed PTSD person who is hopeless without treatment, care, and help. And that's what's happened to the chimps. And it's our fault.
So these chimps in particular that we're talking about, like, what's the solution? What's the result that we're looking to get?
Well, so the resolution is we have a venture capital group that came together to purchase the property. And we've been in the process of trying to purchase the property for 6 months. And we've been given the runaround, quite frankly, from California Fish and Wildlife. as well as a previous owner and a defunct charity that's actually still taking money in the name of the enterprise, which is a whole nother host of problems. Seems like there's a big cash grab. I think there's some money that's owed to these individuals, and they're holding the chimps hostage for their payment, and that's just not going to fly. And then at the end of the day, when we started to really dig into this on the due diligence side, we realized a lot of rules with regards to transporting endangered animals were being, basically, they're not even looking at it. It's like they don't care. They don't care that putting these animals into this mobile situation, going to Washington to 90-degree heat, is going to affect them, not only just separating them, they trank them, they drug them, the other chimps watch. It's like if I just knocked you over the head and took you away from your family right now, how would your family react, right? Probably not very good. That's what they're going to do to them. And that physiological response and psychological response, without context, without counsel, without help, without any palliative care, is going to cause those chimps to not only have issues, but might die. They die. So there's been 47 chimps at that property recently. They've moved between 47 down to 32. 3 of them have passed away because of this. Another one had a very severe, violent issue where it ripped the penis off of another chimp because it went somewhere else, and they just threw it in, like forced assimilation, right? We know what happens when you force assimilate people and animals. I can't do it with horses. Even horses have to be careful. And they're the most majestic, kind of polite beast. They're not very polite, but people think they are. No, they're brutal. They'll stomp you to death if it's not the right fit, and that's the thing with chimps. There's this whole underside that's like humans. Like, you don't want to just be forced to be with somebody or live with somebody. That's why we get divorced, right? And that's the funny thing about chimps is they bond and rebond like people. So imagine you and your mate are having a bad week, she's over here and you're over here. And these primatologists go, oh, that's a social group. And they take you away from your person forever just because you're maybe not with each other right now. I mean, it's insane.
So what can people who are listening and watching right now do? Where can they go? How can they help?
Sure. So they could go to our website is wildlifewaystationla.com, wildlifewaystationla.com. That is our new site, which is for our project there. And it is for the help of actually funding the property and also helping to create awareness about this issue, because these chimps are in a position right now where they should not be moved. So that's the first thing. Definitely reaching out to that site. You can also reach me and DM me on Instagram, LindseyV77. I talk to anybody. I want to understand anything about anyone that knows anything about chimps from the past. I'm also looking for celebrities and government officials right now. So I'm in the process of trying to get the government to realize that these are endangered species. They are critically endangered. It's a prominent thing. I mean, I was just on the phone with the Department of the Interior. We have calls into USDA. The problem is that there isn't like an endangered species person for California. It's like a federal thing. So they're leaning on Fish and Wildlife, which the guy is a fisheries biologist.
Have you filed a lawsuit and trying to get an injunction?
We haven't yet. It's a plan. It's just the timing of being able to do it with this move. It just came too fast, and just the ability to be able to get it passed. The problem with California is it's hard to get these things passed. So we needed to make sure that we had enough proof. And in our due diligence, we started to get more proof this week, right? So kind of all came at once.
Well, putting my lawyer hat on, I would file a lawsuit tomorrow for an emergency injunction. I mean, if you file the lawsuit tomorrow for an emergency injunction, it'll get heard and it'll stop everything. It might stop. It might not stop it permanently. If you can at least get a hearing on the injunction, that will just pause everything. And then if you win the injunction, right, then I mean, that's the preliminary stage, right? You've been in business long enough. That's a preliminary stage of the actual lawsuit. But I would file an emergency TRO like right now.
Yeah, I think that's the idea now, because again, we tried all of the goal was to, because we're a VC group and an entrepreneurs group, what we're trying to do is maintain like a compatible, compassionate relationship with the state as well as all involved, right? So going the legal route was kind of like a last resort, right? We assumed that they would just reason, because it's not like we're just saying this out of our ass. We have like a whole team of zoological people and veterinarians and stuff that gave them this information ahead of time, and they chose to ignore it. Right. So we really thought they were going to make the right decision. We just had a call with the primatologist today. So we thought, well, maybe this will talk some sense into him and he'll make this call. Right. So from what we've understood, they were supposed to move today. Fish and Wildlife says it's tomorrow. I'm not sure. I'm going to try to find out. So when you came on, I just had one of my activists go there. She said that right now she couldn't tell if anyone had moved, but that they were aggressively asked her to leave because there was a lot of trucks coming up the hill. So we don't know. They sent police and everything. So I'm not sure what's happening. I'm waiting for her to call back because she was going to try another way. But I'll bring drones there. I'll bring whatever. I don't care. I'm like ready for this thing. I'm like, come get me. And that's what I told them. Like, I keep hearing, I've been communicating with some celebrities and different people. And one of them said to me, well, don't you know how much money it is? And, are you sure you want to get it? I'm like, yeah, like, hello, I've been looking at this for a year. Like, that's not the problem. The problem is two things. It's two things. It's real simple. Whether we buy the property or not, these chimps still need to pause and not be moved. They need a medical assessment right now to be sure that they're safe to move. That's the first thing. We need an outside third party to do that before anything happens at this property, because these are endangered species, period. Whether my deal happens or not, I don't care. This is more of a whistleblower thing at this point. And I don't mean to say I'm a whistleblower, but I guess I kind of am, because I'm stopping my deal to pause. I'd rather buy the property and start what I'm doing there, but you can't just kick these things out of their habitat and then also not care that they're like going to be okay. You know what I mean? It's just bad. It's bad business. I don't want to be involved in that. And I want to make sure they're okay no matter what.
Well, you know what? I don't want to. I could talk to you. I want to have you come back after all this stuff is over, and I want to talk to. I want to dive deep into the business things that you've done. We talked a little bit about that, but I think right now this is the more critical stuff and it's more important. So again, if you'd like some more information about Lindsey, just go to her Instagram. It's LindseyBean77. If you want to get involved, what's the website again?
It's wildlife. So it's Wildlife Way Station LA. Make sure you put LA.com. WildlifeWayStationLA.com. Again, it's WildlifeWayStation.com. Send her a DM if you want to get involved in this. I'm gonna fast track the podcast. I'm gonna have this thing up hopefully tomorrow. So it's Thursday. Wow, awesome.
So I'll fast track this thing to get it up and running. So hopefully it'll have some sort of impact and help. And we're gonna have you back. We're gonna have Lindsey back because I want to talk to her about. I mean, she's done amazing things in business. She has. I've listened to her on Clubhouse. I've known who she is. We've had to have crossed paths before at an ERA party or something. Who knows? But
it's funny that you were an ERA. I didn't realize that. That's cool. I must have met you. I'm sure.
Well, yeah. We
Who doesn't know Mike Alden?
Come on. I'm still on TV today with John Abdo. I've been on for like 10 years of the same show.
Yeah. I just realized that. Sorry.
I'm down. We have probably had drinks and don't even realize it because we probably, who knows? We know all the same people.
I was also blonde for like 15 years, so people don't.
I was skinnier, but I'm getting better looking as I get older. So that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Listen again. So I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing. Your energy, your activism is awesome, and I hope that maybe that this podcast will help a little bit. Again, lastly, if you want some more information about Lindsey, go to LindseyBean77. That's her Instagram. Send her a DM. See if you can help. We're also going to put up the website as well. You can go to it's Wildlife Way Station. LA.com, right? WildlifeWayStationLA.com. My name is Mike Alden. This has been another, kind of an emergency podcast that we're doing right here to help the chimpanzees and to really help a cause. And you've heard Lindsey and her passion and why she's here and why she's passionate about what she's doing right now. So again, go to her Instagram at LindseyBean77. My name is Mike Alden. That's Lindsey Brooks. And we are definitely going to have you back, and we'll talk to you soon. Today's episode is brought to you in part by ConneXtionCapital.com. That's ConneXtion Capital.com. That's ConneXtion Capital.com. You are one connection away from your life changing forever. Have you ever tried to connect with somebody on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or even Clubhouse, and you couldn't quite connect with them? That's because the biggest gap in the world is the gap of access. It's not the wealth gap. It's not the credit gap. It's the access gap. ConneXtionCapital.com is leveling the playing field, and it's free to join. Visit ConneXtionCapital.com, ConneXtion Capital.com. Again, it's ConneXtion Capital.com. You are one connection away from your life changing forever.